proportions, and their projectiles exceeding the prescribed limits, unfortunately, occasionally cut in two some unoffending pedestrians. These inventions, in fact, left far in the rear the timid instruments of European artillery. It's but fair to add that these Yankees, brave as they have ever proved themselves to be, didn't confine themselves to theories and formulas, but that they paid heavily in propria persona for their inventions. Among them were to be counted officers of all ranks, from lieutenants to generals, military men of every age, from those who were just making their debut in the profession of arms, up to those who had grown old on the gun carriage. Many had found their rest on the field of battle, whose names figured in the Book of Honour of the Gun Club, and of those who made good their return, the greater proportion bore the marks of their indisputable valour. Crutches, wooden legs, artificial arms, steel hooks, caoutchouc jaws, silver craniums, platinum noses were all to be found in the collection, and it was calculated by the great statistician Pitcairn that throughout the Gun Club there was not quite one arm between 4 persons, and exactly 2 legs between 6. Nevertheless, these valiant artillerists took no particular account of these little facts, and felt justly proud when the dispatches of a battle returned the number of victims at 10-fold the quantity of the projectiles expended. One day, however, sad and melancholy day, peace was signed between the survivors of the war. The thunder of the guns gradually ceased. The mortars were silent. The howitzers were muzzled for an indefinite period. The cannon, with muzzles depressed, were returned into the arsenal. The shot were repiled. All bloody reminiscences were effaced. The cotton plants grew luxuriantly in the well-manured fields. All mourning garments were laid aside, together with grief, and the Gun Club was relegated to profound inactivity. Some few of the more advanced and inveterate theorists set themselves again to work upon calculations regarding the laws of projectiles. They reverted invariably to gigantic shells and howitzers of unparalleled calibre. Still, in default of practical experience, what was the value of mere theories? Consequently, the club rooms became deserted. The servants dozed in the antechambers. The newspapers grew mouldy on the tables. Sounds of snoring came from dark corners, and the members of the Gun Club, erstwhile so noisy in their séances, were reduced to silence by this disastrous peace, and gave themselves up wholly to dreams of a platonic kind of artillery. "This is horrible," said Tom Hunter one evening, while rapidly carbonizing his wooden legs in the fireplace of the smoking-room. "Nothing to do, nothing to look forward to. What a loathsome existence! When again shall the guns arouse us in the morning with their delightful reports?" "Those days are gone by," said jolly Billsby, trying to extend his missing arms. "It was delightful once upon a time. One invented a gun, and hardly was it cast than one hastened to try it in the face of the enemy. Then one returned to camp with a word of encouragement from Sherman or a friendly shake of the hand from McClellan. But now the generals are gone back to their counters, and in place of projectiles they dispatch bales of cotton. By Jove, the future of gunnery in America is lost. Aye, and no war in prospect," continued the famous James T. Maston, scratching with his steel hook his gutta-percha cranium. "Not a cloud in the horizon, and that, too, at such a critical period in the progress of the science of artillery. Yes, gentlemen, I who address you have myself this very morning perfected a model, plan, section, elevation, etc., of a mortar destined to change all the conditions of warfare." "No, is it possible?" replied Tom Hunter, his thoughts reverting involuntarily to a former invention of the Honourable J.T. Maston, by which, at its first trial, he had succeeded in killing 337 people. "Fact," replied he. "Still, what's the use of so many studies worked out, so many difficulties vanquished? It's mere waste of time. The New World seems to have made up its mind to live in peace, and our bellicose Tribune predicts some approaching catastrophes arising out of this scandalous increase of population." "Nevertheless," replied Colonel Bloomsbury, "they're always struggling in Europe to maintain the principle of nationalities." Well, there may be some field for enterprise down there, and if they'd accept our services— "What are you dreaming of?" screamed Bilsby. "Work at gunnery for the benefit of foreigners?" "That would be better than doing nothing here," returned the colonel. "Quite so," said J.T. Maston, "but still we need not dream of that expedient." "And why not?" demanded the colonel. "Because their ideas of progress in the Old World are contrary to our American habits of thought. Those fellows believe that one can't become a general without having served first as an ensign, which is as much as to say that one can't point a gun without having first cast it oneself." "Ridiculous," replied Tom Hunter, whittling with his bowie knife the arms of his easy-chair. "But if that be the case there, all that's left for us is to plant tobacco and distill whale oil." "What?" roared J.T. Maston. "Shall we not employ these remaining years of our life in perfecting firearms? Shall there never be a fresh opportunity of trying the ranges of projectiles? Shall the air never again be lighted with the glare of our guns? No international difficulty ever arise to enable us to declare war against some transatlantic power? Shall not the French sink one of our steamers, or the English, in defiance of the rights of nations, hang a few of our countrymen?" "No such luck," replied Colonel Bloomsbury. "Nothing of the kind is likely to happen, and even if it did, we shouldn't profit by it. American susceptibility is fast declining, and we're all going to the dogs." "It's too true," replied J.T. Maston with fresh violence. "There are 1,000 grounds for fighting, and yet we don't fight. We save up our arms and legs for the benefit of nations who don't know what to do with them. But stop. Without going out of one's way to find a cause for war, didn't North America once belong to the English?" "Undoubtedly," replied Tom Hunter, stamping his crutch with fury. "Well, then," replied J.T. Maston, "why shouldn't England in her turn belong to the Americans?" "It would be but just and fair," returned Colonel Bloomsbury. "Go and propose it to the President of the United States," cried J.T. Maston, "and see how he'll receive you." "Bah!" growled Bilsby between the 4 teeth which the war had left him. "That'll never do." "By Jove!" cried J.T. Maston, "he mustn't count on my vote at the next election." "Nor on ours," replied unanimously all the bellicose invalids. "Meanwhile," replied J.T. Maston, "allow me to say that if I can't get an opportunity to try my new mortars on a real field of battle, I shall say good-bye to the members of the Gun Club and go and bury myself in the prairies of Arkansas." "In that case, we will accompany you," cried the others. Matters were in this unfortunate condition, and the club was threatened with approaching dissolution, when an unexpected circumstance occurred to prevent so deplorable a catastrophe. On the morrow after this conversation, every member of the association received a sealed circular, couched in the following terms: "Baltimore, October the 3rd. The President of the Gun Club has the honor to inform his colleagues that at the meeting of the 5th instant he will bring before them a communication of an extremely interesting nature. He requests, therefore, that they will make it convenient to attend in accordance with the present invitation."